video games. Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is the Tarific YouTube channel, and I am your host, Tarific. I hope you're ready for this. I hope you're ready to allow yourselves to be introduced to my YouTube channel, as this is just an introductory video into kind of where I'm coming from with this whole very, very strange thing that is an attempt to become YouTube famous. It's not something everybody can do, but it's not something most people should attempt, as it is a place filled with hyenas and diamondback snakes. My name is Tarific, and I will be using this channel to do a variety of things, mostly trying to catch up with the other two YouTubers in their shit-talking antics. I just plan to shit-talk everything and everyone every day until I eventually ruin somebody's life or career. I've got a lot of catching up to do, especially in the shit-talking department. I mean, I can't stress enough how much shit I'm going to be talking on this YouTube channel, but I can't stress enough how much catching up to do I am going to have to do in order to get up to date and up to speed with all the other already well-established YouTube personalities. Because let me tell you, dude, my life has been a diarrhea fart of an excuse to not actually have a life. And I mean, I've just been trying to hold this all in, not make a big mess of myself, and just do this in the right way so nobody notices how badly things have actually been messed up for me. To start off, this video, this introduction, won't just be an introduction, but will also be an educational video on what happens to you when you are swatted. That's right, what happens to you when you are unlawfully and unrightfully and maliciously accused of a Class B felony in order for somebody to pretty much try and take the reins of your life and property. Swatting is a very serious crime. The people who do call the police on you are actually supposed to be arrested and detained underneath a Class B felony of conveying and presenting false information in regards to a terrorist action or a terrorist threat. True or false. Or real or non. And the very nature of that charge is just so fucking confusing that not even a lot of judges and attorneys understand it. So swatting is a very confusing process that is basically a boner rocket that will fuck anything that it is aimed at. Is what I'd like to describe the swatting charge as. I mean, it is just absolutely made to screw over anything that it touches. You, the police, the public defender that's appointed to you after you've been cut off from all your funds, the district attorney, and the judges just have no idea, really, unless they've handled something like this before, how to handle something like this. 'Cause, man, it is just bad. Everybody's on edge because of all of the shootings and attacks going on in our country, which makes trying to be somebody who has watched a lot of action movies in the 80s and 90s really bad. It's just like all the millennials are being singled out because all these generation, what are they? The Generation X kids are fucking losing their shit on antipsychotics and shooting their friends. I mean, it's bad. It's really bad, guys. Antipsychotics are a shitty thing, let me tell you. But To continue with my story, I was swatted recently. I've decided to make this video because recently I was released from police custody after having my charges reduced from a Class B felony to a gross misdemeanor. But, I mean, I'm still unlawfully on parole or probation or whatever is going on, because this whole situation is just thoroughly fucked. I mean, this is the point of fucked that you get into when you get tired of regular pornography and you start to go into that really fucking drastic shit. The stuff that you start to look at the porns that the porn stars have been doing like for like 20 years, and like they're fitting entire people in their butts. It is just an absolutely destroyed situation. But to get into my story and to make it clear, these are the do's and don'ts of being swatted. To start with, rule number one, policy number one of this entire process is try not to get swatted to begin with. And don't trust anybody who is around you, especially your family, your friends, and your neighbors, because they're the people who are out to fuck you over the most. Statistically speaking, when it comes to like violent crimes and people actually committing these violent crimes, those violent crimes are actually committed 1 out of every 4 times by somebody that the victim actually knew. And swatting is a lot like that, in that the people around you are pretty much out to really screw your pooch right down to the floor. Just make sure that that dog never gets up or jumps or does tricks again, and so they can just be like, ha, I taught your dog a new trick. It's called die. And fuck your life, because I hate you. I've secretly hated you for your entire life and mine. And you're just like, oh man, that is not a life, dude. You do not want to trust anybody around you. What happened to me is I moved back into my mom's house after being through a bunch of crazy experiences. I was in a town where like a plane crashed only a few blocks away from me, in a place where I was thinking about like spending the night. And after surviving what I can only call the coldest fucking winter I've ever been through, I moved back home with my mom and was trying to patch things up with her, but found myself in yet another odd situation of fighting off our home being invaded by a bunch of teenagers from the skate park. And everybody knows how skate park teenagers can be. You hear the word skate park teenagers and you're just like, oh my god. A bunch of tweakers and crackheads who fucking... and dirty kids. Who all just fucking are too disorganized to do anything smart with their lives. So they usually end up doing some pretty bad things. That was the situation I was dealing with. I'm trying to keep our home from being invaded by people who were going around stealing a bunch of shit from a bunch of people who were just don't understand that your cars just need to be locked sometimes. And just trying to convince my mom that sometimes you just don't let random people into your home. I mean, we were dealing with this situation. A bunch of weirdos coming into our house, and they're disgusting dreadlocks and they're just gross habits. And fucking this one girl living in our house, just bringing like 5 people into our home. Just into a one room, and it's just like... You can have your dirty fucking VD orgies somewhere else, please. I don't want Like, why would you come into some random person's home in order to do that? It's like, oh yeah, I just walk up to the front door and just like, I'm gonna fuck 5 dudes in your house all at once, and it's just like, my mom's just like, oh yeah, sure, come on in, and she's she's adorable when she's man. I mean, she is not adorable at all. It was a very dangerous situation of like, you never know what's going to happen with these punk assholes. But it became that situation. Along with a bunch of other stuff, our house was infested with ants. We had a bunch of, feral cats running around in the neighborhood that my mom found it important to feed. Which turns out you need a license to do so in the state of Nevada. You need to register yourself as a feral house that takes care of feral cats. And other situations like the Black Widow problem that our town has been having for like the last few years, and the fact that my mom is just kind of like a really obliviously ignorant moron sometimes. Like, you can present completely solid and supported evidence to her, and she'll just throw it out the window and just be like, and just make an argument that is completely belligerent and oblivious towards the evidence that she just observed for herself. And it's when living underneath that situation and the perfect storm of circumstances that were also leading up to what was my arrest made the situation like to the point where I really couldn't trust anybody. Like, it just wasn't smart to trust anyone. I mean, if you are getting swatted to begin with, it pretty much means that the person trying to do it to you is just somebody that you never should have trusted to begin with. With everything going on in the state of Nevada, the Las Vegas shooting, the giant massive scandal of our manpower organizations getting like $12 million stolen from them. It was almost $1 million just in the town I was in of just these people who were like raped and like, or had violent crimes committed against them, like not getting the grants they needed in order to get their lives going again, get the mental health that they needed to, like, go and find jobs and things like that. Just all that just being completely screwed off. Someone with a very expensive shoe habit just deciding that rape victims don't need a better quality of life. People who just don't know how serious the whole deal is. Everybody is just like, screw the hashtag #MeToo movement. I need a new car. I have 5 cars already, but I need a new one now. Cars being stolen and stuff. It was just a bad situation. The police here just don't like listening to people. They just like being police officers for the look of being police officers. They don't actually like reporting any crimes or anything. But with that in mind, it just came to this situation where I was fighting off literally bullshit coming in from all directions from my mom and like everybody else who just didn't understand like the state of affairs that the state of Nevada was in. Just fucking accusing me of being the bad guy just because I did my research into how screwed things actually were. They're just like, you know things and people around here don't appreciate it. We don't like people who know. We only like people who say things that have nothing to do with how bad things are. It's like breaking the fourth wall. everybody just loses their shit every time you mention that there is a fourth wall. So what happens is you get swatted. You get swatted by everybody, by the people who just don't understand that you're just trying to point out like all of these crimes so they understand why like your situation is so bad. So they understand why they can why they need to use their mind jobs and their influence to like fix the problem instead of being a bunch of lazy alcoholics. Hey, your tax dollars are getting fucked off. Don't you care about where your tax dollars go? No, I don't actually. I just don't. With all the money I have to pay in taxes because of my high-paying mind job, I just don't care about anything. You try to call attention to it and everybody thinks that you're some type of terrorist. You do research on people who actually are terrorists in order to fucking, expand your career as a YouTube personality, because a lot of YouTubers do news. And everybody just labels you as public enemy number one. They're just like, we don't like to know things about what's going on. Just please get this crazy person out of here. He likes to know the news. I don't know anybody who likes to know the news of what's going on, or what place that you want to avoid if you don't want getting shot in the head by somebody trying to actually learn how to no-scope with a sniper rifle. I didn't want to be a part of that kill-tacular spree in fucking Las Vegas, so I like to know where the safest place is to be to, which concerts to visit to not be shot. I mean, Ariana Grande, definitely not on my list of concerts to be at. Country music festival, probably going to avoid those from now on. I mean, just places with either bad security or that like to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Because some old man who just didn't like loud music decided to take his problems up with a high caliber sniper rifle. These kids in the soda pop and the freaking cell phones and the goddamn shoes and the freaking walking on my lawn. I'm gonna make sure these kids, they know why old men hate. No scope, headshot, kill-tacular, running riot. That's probably what he was thinking as he was mowing down all those unfortunate people. When you do your research into that situation, you try to do your job as a YouTuber to convey characters that may or may not have been involved in that happenstance. Maybe even plan on writing a book about it one day, or like, because like you're the guy who called the FBI and tried to warn everybody that like something really bad was about to happen because the people following you around in Elko kept telling you about the house filled with guns, and you're just like, it could have been stopped. It could have been stopped. But anyways, without further ado, the reason why I was swatted is because I was practicing my YouTube shtick and trying to get the local school, a school I graduated from, in order to help me further my YouTube career by giving me permission to do a couple of YouTube videos on their property. Independent films and stuff. I do a lot of martial arts and stuff, so maybe like find some kids and some actors and meet up with some people, post some flyers around the school, and talk to the counselors so they know that I'm not about to like plan some type of crazy terrorist attack. Let these people know who I am so I can, post flyers around the school without being made suspicious about anything. About my plan to like film a movie and that the movie needs actors, both male and female. Preferably kids who like, know martial arts or can at least look like they know how to handle a firearm. And it became this situation where it was just this completely massive misunderstanding of people's bullshit and just my fucking worry and my suffering and my just misunderstanding of people's trust in someone like me just is being exploited by the law and its intent to misinterpret and misunderstand people in order to make arrests. Because the thing about police officers is they are just intent on committing contempt against justice just so they have something to do. So, the day I was arrested, I had a few arguments with my mom the few weeks before. Talking to her, yelling at her, trying to get her to understand, like, the situation of what's going on in Nevada. Just desperately trying to get her to at least Google one thing once in her life. But, I mean, this was before, like, a bunch of major investigations took place, so it's not like I exactly had the evidence to support it. And it was just, like, just me trying to get a bunch of people to understand a whole situation that they just kept refusing to understand. I mean, my mom keeps saying that all she does is see me play video games, so how would I have time to plan a terrorist attack? I just don't get it. I just don't get some people. I don't think anybody ever will. But anyways, the world is a silly, sloppy place, filled with shitty diarrhea people. And they run their diarrhea mouths in situations that they just should not. That's what my mom did. And she just felt threatened about, me exposing her for a lifetime of and continued neglect and abuse of my situation and my living circumstances. And she had me arrested. My very own mother had me swatted because she didn't want to own up to some of the mistakes that she made. The money that she owes me for all of the opportunities that she's cost me. The reputation of mine that she's destroyed by going around and telling everybody I'm retarded. The physical and emotional damage that she's done to me through her fucking just unprepared nature of parenting and neglect and racism, because she's probably a racist too. I mean, fuck, I'm not white, but I'm not black either, so it's just fuck. I'm just one of those guys, I guess. I mean, in my video, I look like a white guy, probably, but I still haven't figured out this lighting yet. So, the day I was arrested, It was one of those days that I believe that I was practicing, that I had been practicing just YouTube ranting, just my skills in just using acting and improv to just calm myself down from the stressful nature of life. And it was a very odd arrest that I will get into right now. It was just a fucking, just very stupidly done arrest. It was probably the most ridiculous arrest that I have ever been through in my life. Because I've been arrested a couple of times. But what happened in this situation was probably like both just incompetent and unlawful. What happened was, I'd been to the local school earlier that week trying to talk to counselors. Had made no threats to them whatsoever. Just, they turned me away from the school because they were being all fucking weird and shit. Because Lowry High School has a problem with hiring competent teachers. And they usually hire a bunch of fucking assholes into the school. So, these assholes, this conglomerate of jerks, decided that they needed to get me to leave the school because of something that they perceived as as just something that they didn't want to be there. And what happened was later that week, because it took a week for them to even actually consider anything, or whatever the hell was going on, is that two police officers showed up to my house. Two police officers drove their car near my home, parked it like a couple of blocks away in order to walk up to my house at 11 o'clock in the afternoon. And they just kind of knocked on the door. They flashed their light into my window, and then they proceeded to knock on the door. And I wake up from trying to go to sleep, and I'm just like, oh, geez, what's going on? I've been getting bitten by a shit ton of carpenter ants, that entire summer, and so I'm just out of it, just trying to fucking detox from all these ant bites. And so I wake up and I go to the door and I answer it. Or I don't exactly answer it, I just open the door that leads to the door outside, and I'm looking at these two officers just like, what are you doing here? I'm just like, what are you doing here, officers? And they're just like, oh yeah, we just want to talk to you. And I'm just like, oh, well, I'm just like, oh, you want to talk to me? I'm just like, do you have a warrant to come to my house and collect evidence? And they're just like, no, but we don't need a warrant. We just want to talk to you. And it's just like, no, you... Yeah, I'm just like, if you don't have a warrant to come and talk to me, because if the FBI have not told you that I need to be arrested, then you need to leave. Because that's what I told them. I was just like, if you don't have a warrant, then you need to leave. And I was just like, oh, and they're just like, oh no, we just want to talk. This is just a talk. This isn't anything that has to do with the law or anything. Just straight up lying to me. And because they just wanted to fucking arrest somebody for terrorist charges, because they're just like, oh yeah, well, we'll look like heroes if... And it's just like, nah, dude. It even says in their statements that my mom didn't see any weird packages coming to my house. And if I was planning a terrorist attack, then the FBI would have been on me so fast. And it was pretty much just my mom getting back at me for just getting a recording of her verbally abusing me, because she's verbally assaulted me on a few of my live streams, actually. And what happened was I just told these two officers, if you don't have a warrant to come to my house, then you need to go. You need to leave. You need to get the fuck out of here, because I'm about to go to sleep. I don't want to talk to you guys. I'm not in the fucking mood to talk to you guys. I pretty much played the fifth at that point. And if you don't have a warrant to collect evidence, then I have no evidence for you to collect. Please leave. But it's just like, I was in a place where the two doors leading outside of the house were blocked off or inoperable. And it was just me and the police. It was just the police standing in between me and the one door out of the house. And they knew that. I could tell that they knew that. I bet you anything they had walked around the house and were just like, oh yeah, this is the one door, so let's stand outside of it. So, they pretty much illegally hold me in my own home in order to interrogate me. And do an illegal incarceration in order to interrogate me in my own house. And it's just like, they're just like, oh yeah, we just want to come in and talk to you. And it's just like, and then somebody turns on their fucking car and it's just like, oh yeah, we can't hear you over. Somebody in the distance was just revving up their engine really hard with the two police officers outside my house. So I knew it was some type of weird setup. Somebody just decides to do that when they see two police officers there. It's just like, dude, either he's trying to mask the officers just fucking sneaking around my home, or whatever. He's trying to force a situation into which I let them into my house. But it's just like, at that point, I was scared, to be honest. I was scared that these two police officers were gonna do what incompetent police officers do and decide that that my witness to their incompetence would cause them to lose their jobs, and they'd pull their guns on me and shoot me. So I just didn't know what to do. I let them into my house because it was just like, if I don't comply with them now in their illegal demands, they're gonna kill me, and that'll be the end of my life. I was scared for my life. I didn't know what else I could do other than just comply with the officers. They come into my house and they start talking. We start talking with each other. It's just like, I mean, yeah, I've been having a few arguments with my mom. She's, you know how she is. Everybody in town knows how she is. She's the infamous Tarific's mom. She's an alcoholic who goes around stalking people and fucking has created so many problems for this town that she shouldn't even be allowed to live within the county anymore. I mean, she is single-handedly responsible for allowing a very dangerous meth dealer live in our town underneath her home, and is single-handedly responsible for the meth addiction problem of this town. And these two police officers are just like, oh yeah, well, your mom, we know your mom. And it's just like, yeah, we know you too. And it's just like, no, you don't. I never talked to these two police officers before. I'm going to make that very clear. I've never spoken to these two police officers before. When I saw them, I was just like, oh man, these are just two police officers who I've never talked to before about anything. I don't even know these two guys. Why are they coming up to my house like they say that they know me? And it was one of those situations. Just police officers straight up lying about the entire circumstance just so they could make the goofiest arrest of their careers. We start talking and I'm just like, and they're just like, oh yeah, well, did you say that you were going to blow up Lowry High School? And I'm just like, yeah, but I mean, I was just like, yeah, I did say that, but I mean, and I'm just like, yeah, but I mean, that's not a threat. I mean, You take a picture of something, you blow it up, you expand it, you freaking, or you plan to hold a party at some place and blow up that place with like an awesome party. You write a very scathing and angry letter about how you've been mistreated by the staff of some place, and have that place's like Instagram or like or their email address or their phone number blown up, so fucking blown up in a figurative standing of like of literary action in which you brought a bunch of attention to the wrongdoing of some place. And the police officers or the people involved in my arrest, my mom who was making malicious accusations, and the two police officers who were following through with an incompetent arrest, just decided, oh yeah, well, you're going to be arrested. Yeah, you're being arrested right now. So you need to turn around, and they did this whole condescending, oh yeah, we got you, just turn around and be arrested. And I'm just like, dude, I haven't said anything, and it's just like, oh yeah, well, I mean, your mom's saying that you've been planning to blow up Lowry High School. And it's just like, that could mean an entire variety of things. That's not a terrorist attack. And it's just like, oh yeah, well, your neighbors said that they heard you saying that you could have done a better job at the Vegas shooting. And it's just like, I was nowhere near the Vegas shooting. So obviously that was a work of fiction. I've never even set foot in Las Vegas. How could I go down? How could somebody who has literally no money go down to Las Vegas and be back on that same day without any resources to do that whatsoever? These officers just don't know. They obviously just were not present for the second grade, because they just have no idea how to put two and two together. They even have in their statements, it's just like, dude, that's obviously just a fictional work, dude. That sounds like a fictional work that somebody was working on, and then somebody misinterpreted because they were just a bunch of angry racists. So the situation proceeded, and they're just like, oh yeah, we're arresting you right now. And I'm just like, no, you're not. Are you aware that you're about to make an unlawful arrest? And they're just like, it's not an unlawful arrest, typical dumb police officer. Can barely even figure out how to tie his shoes in the morning. They have to put a lock on his gun for him just so he doesn't shoot himself in the foot or the face. And it was one of those special cops that they hired just because they feel bad. And people say, I'm retarded. I'm fucking... This guy literally... The way you phrase everything that if you just look at the statements made in my arrest, everything starts to pan out like I'm just an actor working on something. Just being pestered by some old lady. And the police decided to make that arrest anyways. But the hilarity ensued in that situation, in that they told me to turn around so they could put cuffs on me. But I was just like, you know what, fuck this, and I just go fucking limp. I'm just like, I'm not gonna, I told the officers as they were arresting me, I'm just like, this is an unlawful arrest. I'm going to tell you right now that this is an unlawful arrest. And at any time that I so choose, I can fight back against you and use lethal force. But I'm not going to do that because I'm not a violent person. I'm going to prove to you that I am a non-violent person who was not planning any act of violence whatsoever. I mean, if I were planning a terrorist attack, I would have taken out a gun and shot the both of you in the face. But obviously, I'm not planning a terrorist attack. Because why would I just choose the path of non-violence? So that's all I did is I just went limp. I just laid there, and while they're arresting me, I'm just like, you guys, if you weren't such stupid, incompetent police officers, you could have stopped the Vegas shooting, right? And that made them really mad. The officers actually cut my keys off in their efforts to illegally collect evidence without a warrant. And after being told to leave the property by the one person on that property at the time, they actually cut the cord of my keys. See this little thing right here? It's actually connected to a cord, or was, that connected it to my pants so I wouldn't lose my keys or accidentally get locked out of my house, or my room, or my stuff, or my property. And they cut that. One of the officers like took a little fucking thing and like cut it off of the string and shit, and like he opened the door to my room and he walked into my room and shit, and like trying to look for more evidence. I'm just like, you're not allowed to do that, officer. That's illegally collecting evidence. That is not evidence that has been left out in the open. The fact that you're even going into my room is breaking and entering and like stealing my property in order to persist in making an unlawful arrest. Like everything you do from now on is just evidence against you. And it's just like, they were getting really pissed. Like at that point, the two police officers, after handcuffing me, like tried to stand me up, and they're just like both pushing on me, just like, oh man, he's resisting arrest. And I'm just like, I'm not doing anything. Your cameras will show me not doing anything. The fact that you think me just sitting here not fighting against you is resisting arrest shows how fucking dumb you are. See, this is why I was worried about fucking like them just taking out their guns and shooting me, because it was just like, they tried to say I was resisting arrest when all I did was go limp. Not doing anything isn't resisting arrest. That's the one loophole in that. Is if you choose to like be like, oh well, I'm not gonna help you do anything with me, but I'm not exactly gonna resist your arrest either. That's not a resisting arrest. I'm not gonna aid in my own unlawful arrest. I'm not going to help you fuck over my life with a bunch of bullshit, but I'm not exactly going to help you, but I'm not exactly going to stop you from doing it. The hilarious part is just like, I'm a guy, I'm a world record holding weightlifter. And when I see other people like struggle in lifting things, it kind of makes me laugh a little bit. Because the funny thing about this whole situation is it took these two big macho, like, oh yeah, well, we're police officers and we're big strong guys and oh, we can just go bully around anybody. I mean, it took two of these guys. It took two police officers to lift me off of the ground and carry me outside the house. And I'm only 170 pounds. These officers had a hard time lifting a single man. I mean, it's not like I'm some 400-pound dude. It's not like it's fucking hard to lift me. I mean, it would literally take like one man my size to pick me up. But these two police officers are just, oh fuck, like straining themselves just to lift one guy. It shows you like the situation of how like ridiculous the egos of the police are until you fucking like actually show them like how just, oh man, just how pathetic them and their efforts actually are. It's hard to be an intelligent person when confronted with the police. And police like to pick on guys who are really strong too, just so they can look like tough guys. But in that situation, it was just like there's no winning for them. They fucked up really bad by even coming into my house. And especially after I told them to leave, especially after I respectively asked for a warrant, asked for them to produce that warrant, and then told them that if they do not have a warrant to produce in order to make my arrest, then that they need to go. If they have not been directed by the FBI or a state judge in order to have me arrested, then they cannot legally make that arrest and that they need to leave. They made my arrest based off of evidence that is just inconsistent and like is not even evidence towards any arrest that could ever even be made. And they fucking made themselves like a bunch of fucking pansies by not being able to lift a single man. Which is funny. It was just funny to me. Man, cops. If there is one like part of the government that we can do without, it is definitely them. Because they are just the stupidest branch of the government. I mean, they're always helping in some like government corruption. They just take orders blindly, and they don't even like consider like the repercussions of the laws that they even break. They're not even people who are educated in the law or how the law works, which is ridiculous. Man, just a bunch of fucking ridiculous bullshit just to have one guy arrested for trying to follow the rules in what he's supposed to do in order to start an art project, in order to get his community involved in what could have been something that would have been both exciting and new for this community, but they just didn't want it to happen. We don't like people having dreams or expectations. We just want everybody's dreams to be crushed, so we have a bunch of alcoholic minors running around who are easy to arrest. The whole situation is just nothing short of insanity. The whole funny part of this is that they put my cuffs on too tight, which actually counts as excessive force against them. It took 2 police officers to lift me, and I'm a man who's 175 pounds, which also counts as excessive force. So I have the police officers on a lot of stuff. I have these 2 officers in my account on a lot of wrongdoings that they committed. But the greatest punchline of this whole deal is the cuffs that they put me in, the hinge cuffs that are supposed to be unbreakable. While they were transporting me to jail, I was just like, these cuffs are too tight. I have the right to resist this arrest from the beginning, and I will inform you that when handcuffs are too tight, it's considered excessive force, especially when I've shown no intent to commit violence against you police officers. So I fucking broke them. So I broke those handcuffs. I broke the shit out of those handcuffs. I bent them so fucking badly that the top clasp of the handcuffs just fucking snapped, and one of the things was just so bent out of fucking shape that it actually allowed my hand to have some breathing room. In fact, I could have slipped my hand out of the way I bent those fucking handcuffs. That's how badly they were bent. And like I could have used that opportunity to escape, actually, but I didn't want to. I just wanted to be like if I'm not a criminal, then you have no right to actually demand any process of the law upon me. So that was just how that whole situation went down. Why that whole situation was just an absolute fucking bundled faggotry of just just the worst dickery that anybody has ever seen. What are we gonna do about this faggotry? I don't know, but the dickery is an even bigger problem. So that's where I'm gonna end this video, is on that point. Just explaining to you guys a little part of my story. But the rules that we get out of this are, one, don't trust anybody around you. If you suspect that somebody is attempting to have you swatted, then it's best just to not interact with anybody at all. And two, when you're being swatted, it is best to just not talk to the police officers at all. When police officers try to talk to you, you have the right to not say anything. And if you're not in a position like I was, where your house is pretty much barricaded and your doors don't work, then you have the right to walk away from a police officer at any time in order to avoid being unlawfully interrogated. Unless the police officers are officially arresting you, then you can walk away from an officer. You do not have to fucking tell them anything or talk to them about anything that is going on. And that's what I tried to avoid doing, except, if I would have, became belligerent or angry towards the officers who were staying out my home, they probably would have called in an actual SWAT team and been like, oh, he's barricaded himself in his house. And then things would have been really bad. I probably would have been killed. So I did everything right I was supposed to do in order to not be shot by the police. And I hope you guys understand the importance of the way I acted in this story. So this is where I'm going to end this part of the story. And hopefully you guys got something out of this. And if you're ever in a swatting situation later in life, I hope you can use the story to your own advantage. This is terrific. And if you like my story, just fucking blow up that like and subscribe button. Just, zoom in on it so you can see it. And just hit that like button as hard as you possibly can. Just break the absolute physical nature of it. Just send pieces of shrapnel of it flying in all directions as you bring it to the attention of everybody in your near vicinity. So I'm terrific, and this has been my YouTube channel. And I will see you guys around.